Okay, so, oh wait, let me change my name so it says Susie. So, we're gonna have 1 minute. Will you finish my sentence, Mary, so I can change my name? I can do two at one time.
I don't know what your sentence
Oh,
means.
you don't? Oh, so we're gonna have 1 minute videos for trailers that will have like our videos, and then the rest is just audio. Okay, so Mary, do you want to start?
You can start.
You want me to start? Okay. And all of our audios are strong, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so can you share your background and what initially drew you to certain radical ideologies or environments? Just going back.
So going back, actually, I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. The schooling system at that time, we're talking about late 90s, since now I'm 42. The indoctrination in school was different from what it is right now. Right now, it's more open, more tolerant. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is doing great job in advancing the country to something that is even better when it comes to dealing with people of different faiths. But I'm talking about late 90s. The indoctrination was um, uh, against Jews, against Christians, and also some sort of ideas that this is like I do remember there's, I would say, a cancer in the Islamic teachings. It's called hate for the sake of God, or al-bughdu fillah, hate for the sake of God. So I really took it sincerely when I was a kid, and I was really believing that you should hate for the sake of God. When you are indoctrinated with an idea, and by the way, so many people in the Middle East and in the Gulf states and also in many different Arab states were indoctrinated with the same idea. Defeating this idea takes courage, but it is defeatable because it doesn't stand on solid grounds. You should hate Jews for being Jews, and you should hate Christians for being Christians, and you should do this for the sake of God. So this indoctrination really got deep into the hearts and minds of so many Muslims across the Middle East. And some people managed to recover, and some people managed to succumb to it, unfortunately. So I am one of those who defeated this ideology proudly.
Wow. You know, it reminds me something that we were talking about also with Yasmin Muhammad about how when it's invaded you day in, day night, this is how you grew up. It's so hard to break free from the ideology. And I'm
Yes, true.
wondering, yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like almost like how, like what for you, what was the moment? Like what was the moment you said, I'm going to fight against it? This doesn't seem right to me.
I always say that in Paris, France, 2010, 15 years ago was the moment that I decided to break free because I saw lots of the ideas that I believed in when I was young collapse before my eyes. Um, so it was even before 2010, I would say, like 2008 and 9, I was having this kind of idea that there is tremendous kind of hate inside my chest based on the teachings of what we were taught, that this is like the teaching of Islam. The teaching of Islam, by the way, that is like many Muslim Brotherhood preachers in the West preach, but of course they fool you because you're English speaking people, so you don't really know what their real intentions are, but I do know because I know them very well. And they really want to, by the way, they come to the West not to assimilate. They come to the West to dominate, and
Interesting.
they don't really tell the truth about their teachings. But their teachings are pure evil. So the moment it was in Paris when I lived with a Jewish family and I saw how kind and nice they are, lots of beliefs about Jews collapsed before my eyes. Especially that I had so many theological discussions with the family, with the mother in specific, and these kind of discussions really opened my eyes towards something that I would say a facade. You know, a facade like a wall that would be collapsed immediately because it's a fake wall. Uh, Unfortunately, teachings of Islam do not really encourage, or teachings of radical Islam or political Islam do not really encourage questioning or asking questions. It controls its followers with intimidation and blackmail. I'm just being very blunt and honest.
Hmm.
If you put these ideas before your eyes and you say these are wrong ideas, you would be able to break through. You would be able to set yourself free. As long as you're saying, no, 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 this is like, how to say this, as long as you're trying to justify your indoctrinations, you would not be able to set yourself free. You would set yourself free if you have the courage to see them face to face and tell them in your face you are wrong and you are evil. Then you'd be able to break the chain.
Wow. And this is so interesting because Yasmin Mohammed was talking about how it's like a cult. And then I think about, so breaking free from a cult is so psychologically impactful because that's all you know. So how was that for you psychologically, emotionally, mentally? Because your whole world was that.
True. That's a very important thing. I might have differences with Yasmin Mohammed. I do believe there is a spiritual Islam and a radical Islam. I know many people do not really agree with that, and I understand because 9 out of 10 Muslim preachers really preach radical Islam and the Islam that brings devastation to the world. But I believe there is a spiritual Islam where you can pray, fast, and do good to your neighbors, be a good person, be a good human being, without having the attachments that would call for ideology that would destroy your brain, like jihad, loyalty and disloyalty, hating for the sake of God. I still remember this, hating for the sake of God. And many people cannot really manage to find a commonality. So they say Islam is Islam, radical Islam, political Islam, spiritual Islam is all the same. I say, of course it's not. So yes, you would find it difficult, but because it happened to me a long time ago, khalas, I don't really remember how I broke free from it. But I do remember that I had the honesty and I was so sincere in my research and in my journey to find the truth. And yes, I want to tell you one thing. All of those I know who either left Islam or left radical Islam became better people. Go figure.
You know, it makes
All of those I know. And I always say, any teaching in the world, if it tells you that this is the teaching that would lead to heaven or paradise or the Garden of Eden, you have to look at one thing. What are the consequences that this teaching would lead me towards those who I would deal with day to day, or other people in humanity? If it makes you a bad person and radical Islam makes you a bad person, then you should know that this is not the right way. If it makes you a good person, then this is actually something that would lead you to the right way. And I always remember when I was young, I was judgmental. Like many Muslims are now, the majority of Muslims are radicalized in the Gulf states, in the Arab world.
The majority.
Yeah, the majority, of course. I'm saying this, how to say this clearly, tend to judge, tend to intimidate you if you ever decide to criticize Islam. So if you were so sincere in finding what makes you a better person, you would absolutely put it behind your back.
I have so many questions. Because I just spent a week in New York with my friend Mubin Sheikh, who works with me, and he showed me such a beautiful side of Islam. So I'm definitely connecting to what you're saying about there's radical Islam and there's the spiritual Islam. And in fact, I found a lot of similarities to Judaism with some stuff. And I'm hearing what you're saying about how the majority of Muslims are radicalized, especially in the Middle East. And then what's happening politically right now with the rise of, there's finally protest against Hamas in Gaza. How, is there a shift? What is happening? How can we shift? I mean, I'm just trying to put it all together. And is there a hope too? Because you said it's so hard to get out of it. And if all your environment is so radicalized, how can one find the courage?
Exactly. So you need to find the courage by distancing yourself from any environment that would make you radicalized. I would say my family was always liberal. My family was never radicalized. But schools, mosques. I stopped going to Friday prayers after I came back from France. I felt, because I was so honest with myself, and I was saying every Friday ceremony where the Imam says, "Oh Lord, destroy the Jews and destroy the Christians," or in Arabic, "Allahumma alayka bil Yahud wa alayka bil Nasara." And when you see it on TV and when you see it everywhere, you would just find it so hard to detach. But if you just isolate yourself, and it's really hard, but it's doable. It is doable. But I always say to those who want to be better persons, whatever teaching you're having, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, there are radicals in every religion. There are extremists in every single faith. Whatever you're being taught that would not make you a good person, leave it behind your back. Because I do believe that we are created on this earth to live, to collaborate, to cooperate, based on our not based on, but knowing that we are different from one another. If I would judge you or hate you because you were born in a certain geography on a certain date, and you are by coincidence a Jew or a Christian, and I am by coincidence a Muslim, then this is actually the stupidest idea humankind would ever reach. If being truthful to God, that I should hate you for being you just because you were born in New York or Seattle or Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or Munich, and I was born in Jeddah, or I was born in UAE or whatever, this is what Satan really wants. If we believe that there is the top evil person or the top evil entity that is called Satan, that's what it really wants. Connecting that to what you're saying about the protests in Gaza, I do believe that the people now are seeing the consequences. You remember what I told you just a minute ago? The consequences are really an awakening factor. Consequences are awakening factor, a factor that would tell people, you know what, these people who are governing you, telling you that this is the truth or this is the right path, look what the end result is: devastation and mayhem. I do remember there was a Palestinian friend, an American Palestinian. He's an atheist. He doesn't really believe in any faith. He told me, Loay, Hamas is confiscating my decision as a Palestinian. I said, how? They're saying, well, when our people die, they die as martyrs and go to heaven. He said, I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in martyrdom. I don't want to die as a martyr. I just want to live a normal life. Why do they confiscate my decision? Why do they take away my will of wanting to live, and then justify my death by simply saying tactical losses? They go into heaven. They are martyrs. I don't want to be ruled by these people. So maybe I do believe radical Islam will one day be exposed to the Muslims in a way that, especially with social media, in a way that would make it shrink, dissolve, when Muslims really see the consequences.
Yes. Well, everything you said, it's fascinating because it's so relevant to what was on the news the past couple of days of Gazans protesting against Hamas, which, I mean, again, they were saying, Hamas is making all the decisions and choices for us and taking the food from us, all of the things. So that was really fascinating to me to see thousands of people. I had no idea that was even possible.
But also, Susie, what I think is interesting is that in America, Americans are protesting against Israel and for Hamas, and Palestinians are protesting against Hamas. I think
yes,
about there's this disconnect where the West doesn't get it yet.
No, the West it has nothing to, this is my thought, obviously, is it has nothing to do with Israel, right? I mean, now, I think, Loay, what you were saying in terms of when they're coming over to this country, that it's not that they're wanting to connect, there's an agenda. And then there's a lot of information that a lot of those protesters, are being paid. And obviously, because if they started protesting on October 8th, that made no sense how they were already so organized. So thinking about all the anti-Semitism, when, Loay, did you start recognizing how anti-Semitism is so prevalent in Islam, which is all you knew? And now, now you're like in a different space, but when did you start recognizing anti-Semitism?
I do remember after also my trip to Paris, I realized that Islam's anti-Semitism was influenced by two things. Radical Islam, I'm referring to. The religious text that describes some Jews of being bad or evil, because the Quran has like both opinions. The children of Israel were chosen. There is a verse that says clearly that they were chosen. وَلَقَدْ اخْتَرْنَاهُمْ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. And there are other verses that curse the Jews. I would say if you can reform, you can reconcile by saying that, well, it was a criticism towards some Jews, but not for all Jews. But unfortunately, the mainstream ulama or the mainstream scholars disagree with that. They see it as a total criticism to all Jews. That is the truth. So, second kind of anti-Semitism that was influenced by, or that found its way in the Arab world, is actually the Christian anti-Semitism that came from Europe, with all the bloodstain of Jesus was killed by Jews, and those who say so, they always forget to complete the sentence. If you believe he was killed by Jews, don't forget that he was also Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that is very, very ignorant when some people repeat these lies, and we need I think many Muslims need to have this eye opener and leave their narcissism and ego aside, so that they can learn the truth. As long as they believe that they monopolize the truth and they know better than anyone else, believe me, they will not change. But they just have to leave the ego on the doorstep, be modest, and learn something from the source, not from their adversaries. I do remember that I had a discussion with the family, with the Jewish family in Paris, and I told her, Rachel, why do you say Ezra is the son of God? So she said, we never say Ezra. Ezra is the scribe, Ezra the scribe. The Quran accused the Jews of saying Ezra is the son of God. And so many interpreters found it problematic, because there's not a single Jewish denomination that says Ezra is the son of God. Now you see the Muslim interpreters, even back then, they were saying, well, the Quran was addressing a small number of Jews. Okay, I would agree. Let's say there is a denomination that was vanished that said so. Why do Islamists and radicals still point the blame to the Jews of saying Isa, son of God, and you have people who are willing to kill themselves and to die as martyrs because the Jews say so, and I'm obeying God's message. If I kill them, I will be rewarded. This is something that the useful idiots in the US who are protesting do not really know.
This is really interesting. I'm wondering, like, you've been such a loud and proud voice and such a huge ally that, I remember like after October 7th, whenever I was feeling horrible, I was just gonna like look up your videos, like, okay, here's someone who like I can trust to like lift me up and like say the truth. And I can't imagine that you did not have any backlash. Like, I mean, it sounds like, I assume that it's very lonely sometimes. Can you talk about that? Like, how did your community respond, or how did people around you respond to that?
Well, I lost friends, I gained more friends. I lost opportunities, I gained more opportunities. I never looked at the consequences. I was never afraid, because yeah, I was afraid before that, but once you defeat this ideology, you become invincible, I would say. So don't forget that all the lies that they are repeating are lies that I used to say when I was young. I've been in their shoes. I know exactly how brainwashed they are. So yeah, there is a backlash, but it's a backlash because of those who don't want to listen, those who are narrow-minded, and those who one day will change and will regret being this brainwashed. but they are controlled. They are controlled by intimidation and fear. And the moment, I always give this example, the moment you defeat a radical evil ideology, you become invincible. So, have you watched the movie It?
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
I haven't.
Oh, you should watch it, Susie.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Susie, I'll spoil it. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
I'll spoil it. So it's a clown. It's a clown. Please mark my. Of course, it's one of Stephen King's greatest movies. It's a clown that scares people, not because it's scary, because it has a very big reputation that it is scary. The moment that this clown is confronted by heroes who would tell it, who would tell it in the face that you are not scary, that clown shrinks and is defeated. The same to radical ideologies. Radical ideology, like radical Islam, depend on its reputation of control and intimidation. And this is how it controls its followers. The moment they see those who sow its face are not intimidated by it, it shrinks, and its strength to intimidate them or control them vanishes. So this is exactly the same thing. It's a clown. Any radical ideology, it's a clown. Doesn't really scare people off, but it has a reputation that it's so scary. It just needs courageous people who would stand up against its face and tell it, you do not scare me. So the point of those who make the backlash, by the way, Miri, is to stop Loay or stop any other peace activists from doing what they're doing. Well, good luck, because they haven't seen 10% of my resolve.
I love that.
That so and I love this it metaphor, even though it's a very scary movie, but it's so true. Like, right, you look at it and it shrinks, and it reminds me something that Arno was saying. So I don't know if you remember, he said, hate people, and it's exhausting to constantly hate, which what made him, he was just sick and tired of hating, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it makes me think about what you're saying about the radicalization. Also, is there grieveness there? I know that radicalization here in the US, a lot of times there is some grieveness that comes with some sort of victimhood. And I don't know if it's the same when you think about people who are radicalized from birth, like basically growing up in a radicalized society.
You mean versus like the college students who are
Yeah,
being
like college
radicalized
students,
now?
like they're very vulnerable. There is a lot of radicalization that happens in the US, specifically around teenagers and college campuses, but a lot of it is.
But religion plays a role in a religious school. Don't forget that I memorized the Quran in full when I was young. I was 17. I memorized the full Quran, 114 chapters when I was 17.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I'm just telling you that the depth of how I was sincere to my beliefs. But I keep saying that I am a Muslim. I still identify myself a Muslim. I didn't leave faith. I absolutely left radical Islam and put it behind my back, and I know how it looks like. And thank you so much. No, not interested anymore. There is a spiritual Islam, and we are 1.8 billion Muslims, and I believe it's a noble message to help my fellow Muslims to save them from this radical ideology rather than just telling them. And this is my disagreement with those who choose to leave Islam in total, that if you do so, then you are telling the 1.8 billion that, you know what, your faith is corrupt, you have to leave it, that's it. And they would come up with a counter idea or a counter proposal, I would say, to those who would tell them please leave. They would say, but there are so many good things in Islam. Honoring your parents, fasting the holy month of Ramadan, praying 5 times a day, giving charity to the poor, not being loud, and of course these are very, how to say this, like Prophet Muhammad said that, but not many Muslims adhere to. So there are so many good things. Are you against the bad and evil side of Islam, or you're against Islam entirely? So this is why I always say, I don't really agree with those who choose to leave Islam. Of course, everyone is free to do whatever they want to do, but I want to save millions of Muslims from radical ideas, from anti-Semitism in the name of Islam, in the name of God and show them the light. That would be, I would lose my credibility if I do it as an ex-Muslim.
I agree.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, it's funny because I was in a relationship like 10 years ago with someone who was Muslim from Sierra Leone. And it was the most peaceful relationship I ever had. I mean, the rest of them were not that peaceful. And, you know, the only reason that it ended was because of our families. And, but in terms of who he was, we had so much more in common as a Jew and a Muslim from Sierra Leone.
It's
So,
never too late. Never too late. Find him.
yeah, if he's listening, hey. So
He
the
is.
ne-
You never know.
you never know. So what advice then would you give to students on college campuses who are being exposed to radical rhetoric? You know, it's interesting because one more piece is that I was on a panel with a former neo-Nazi and a former Iranian radicalist, and they were saying, you know, it's oftentimes the most vulnerable students. The former neo-Nazi was saying oftentimes it's students who are diagnosed with autism, which I thought was fascinating. So what advice can you give?
To listen to the voices from the region, listen to the voices from the Middle East, listen to those who know, listen to those who defeated this ideology, listen to those who think differently. Just like I'm always saying that you should always be open to listen to different voices, as long as you leave your ego on the doorstep and just come out clean and willing to listen. And also look at the consequences of whatever you're calling for. So, as a person who calls for peace with Israel, for example, I never call to annihilate or deport or displace the Palestinians. I always say that I really wish the Palestinians live in dignity. I really wish that Palestinians would have a leadership that would recognize Israel as a Jewish state, live side by side with it, state publicly that they would never let their children learn hate. If such a leadership exists, and it doesn't at the same time, at this moment, it doesn't. If such a leadership emerges, trust me, the Israelis in Tel Aviv would march into the streets demanding for a Palestinian state. But they know it's not there, and we know that it's not there, and it will take ages for such a Palestinian leadership to emerge. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I always say my advocacy doesn't really, how to say this, doesn't badmouth or attack the Palestinians. I never had a problem with the Palestinians. I have a problem with Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and those who are doing bad to their people as well, not only to the region. We know them very well. We defeated them. We banned them. They come to Europe, US, and Canada. And as I said before, they don't come to assimilate. They come to dominate. But they are misusing the liberal freedoms that they were given in order to use it as a ladder. They just use the liberal freedoms as ladder. As soon as they climb the ladder, get what they want, I hope they don't, they would throw the ladder away, and then they would absolutely turn your societies like the society that they turned Gaza into. Adhere or heed our warning.
Oh, that's gloom. It makes me think about the college campuses. And obviously just following very closely about what's happening now that some of them are being deported. Do you have any thoughts about that, by the way?
Yes, I totally agree with the right of any country in the world to deport visitors or even permanent residents without giving a reason. Without giving a reason. Just because the guy doesn't like you being in the state, that's absolutely, how to say this, at a high uh, uh, sovereign decision. A high sovereign decision. A sovereign decision, a state decides who stays and who doesn't stay. By the way, Homeland Security in any country, not only in the United States, in any country, doesn't need to justify why the visa of this person revoked or not. I know many people would say, but there has to be a justification. Well, there is a justification that was given by Mark Rubio. By the way, he's a great man. I do believe that he is surrounded by consultants and even President Trump, surrounded by consultants who understand the Middle East so well. I do believe he is not someone like the people in the previous administration, with all due respect, of course, who don't really know how these people function. If you apply to an American visa, or if you apply to any visa, and you support terrorist organizations like Hamas, then you should know that you are in I always say this to radicals, to those who are still active in their radicalization. Why do you go to the States? Why do you go to the States if you're supporting Hamas? Why do you go to the States if you are really viewing the American people as infidels? Why do you go to why do you seek refuge from infidels? Why? You know why? Because they want to enjoy the benefits while destroying the country and taking control. Remember my words. It's not about being assimilated. It's about being dominating. They want to be dominate. They want to dominate, not assimilate. So this is a sovereign decision that no one should ever question. The UAE could do the same. Saudi Arabia could do the same. Egypt, by the way, did the same with other refugees who broke the laws. But of course, there are red lines that many of them, I believe, knew, but they didn't take seriously. And by the way, I want to tell you one thing, Miri. I saw one of the demonstrations in college campuses where the demonstrators burned an American flag. And a
Yeah.
Jewish activist who was a friend of mine, he told me, you know, it's a flag, buy another flag. Under Constitution, it is not an offense. I said, well, then that means that there are some legislation that need to be changed. If you do not honor the flag of the country that is giving you the best education in the world, that is giving you an opportunity that millions would dream of, then that means you are ungrateful. You are not worthy of being on that soil. Well, Loay, you know what, taking out, that was a Jewish friend. Well, taking out our freedom of speech is like taking out our God. Freedom of speech is, I said, but this is not freedom of speech. You guys are not getting it right. Freedom of speech is not incitement. Freedom of speech is not about being disrespectful. Freedom of speech doesn't mean that you'll be ungrateful. How could you burn the flag of a country that is giving you an opportunity that millions dream of, and then you call it freedom of speech? I do.
Right. Yes. And people saying that there's no violence on the campuses. We had and will have again, Eli, who at UCLA is an incredible activist. He was being blocked from classes, and they're like, that's not violence. Of course that's violence.
Of course.
Violent, right? It's violence and domestic violence. Why would it not be violence on campus?
Let me remind you one thing. Hamas and radical Islamists, they hold the same pathological creed that brought down 2 towers in Manhattan in 2001. It starts with an idea, it evolves to intimidation, it ends with bringing down 2 towers. Do the American people want to see 2 towers, 2 more towers, God forbid, or 2 other buildings be brought down by radical ideology that start with, it's not violence. He was just intimidated not to go to his class. It starts this way, it ends terribly. How? Ask those who know.
Amazing. So as you are looking back, we've been going back and forth through your life. What would you say to your former self if you can go back in time?
I would say one important thing, look at the consequences of your beliefs. I know you are so sincere in pleasing God. I know you are so sincere in finding the truth. Look at the consequences and be honest with yourself. With this hate, tremendous hate that is being transmitted to you religiously, make you a good person? Just take a step back and ponder. And I would believe that he would take a step back and ponder and finds out that yes, it doesn't make him a good person. It doesn't make. Look at the Muslim preachers. I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 Muslim preachers are bad people. Believe me, they are not the good guys. They are not teaching good. They are teaching hate. They are teaching their followers never celebrate with your Christian countrymen their celebrations. Do not join Jews in their celebrations. Do not. You should never love the Jew. You should never love a Jew or a Christian, even if they are good to you. You should always have this hate inside of your heart, even if you show otherwise. Taqiyya. But the people in the West don't get it. Don't get it, because those Muslim preachers would not tell the truth, or else they would lose their visas. Or they would have their visas revoked, or they would have their permanent residency revoked. This is why, Secretary of State Rubio, he is a very smart, intelligent person who understands the region so well, and this is what I like about Trump's administration. They do with, and can you believe that all of this progress, and we are only 2 months? They are 2 months in office. Look at the tremendous achievement that they've been doing on different fronts. Imagine the next 4 years, how the world would look like. How the world would look like. That actually, I don't like to criticize foreign governments, but I always say that their performance really proved to me that there were some people in other governments in the world who were worthy of the title sleepy.
I'm taking so much of everything that you're saying, from being curious in your journey, notice hate, don't suffer under hate, question, ask, go back. I mean, all of that in terms of your own journey, even to the point of what you said about the belief of being a Muslim, and get your voice out, like, as a Muslim, which is, by the way, 100% I believe in that. And it reminded me when, when I give talks at this point, I always I'm starting by saying I'm pro-Palestinian. I'm not pro-Hamas, I'm pro-Palestinian. It's almost like, for some reason, people assume that if I'm Israeli, I'm not pro-Palestinian, which is a whole different story. But there's something about recognizing humanity, all humanity, and looking at a person as a way of defeating the hate.
Yes, and it's not mutually exclusive. You can be pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian, but not pro-Hamas or pro-Islamic Jihad.
Right.
100%. And you know what's interesting? Someone asked me if I'll be willing to do like a joint event with a Palestinian. And I said, of course. The only thing I'm asking is that if this person is willing to say that Hamas atrocities on October 7th were unacceptable. And the answer was no.
Of course,
Wow.
because 7 out of 10 Palestinians are radicalized. I'm very precise with percentages, by the way. So I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 Muslim preachers are bad people, are radicalized, are fanatics, are ISIS. That is the truth. 9 out of 10. 7 out of 10 Palestinians are radicalized as well. But you have the three.
Up to 3.
Yes.
And we already have 3 of them here on our show.
But I want to tell you one thing. As peace activists, it's our role to make those 3 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000, 100,000, a million, a billion. You never know. So I'm just saying, this is our job, but we have to identify things and be realistic. We don't say, no, the Palestinians are not like Hamas, which is true, but many are. The majority of the Palestinians that I know, or at least I see on social media, support Hamas. But not all the Palestinians. We have to be very precise. Public speaking is all about wording. You have to be so precise in your wording. Not all the Palestinians support Hamas. Many Palestinians are radicalized. I would say 7 out of 10. But not all.
And we're going to keep finding the 3 people. We have 2 more questions for you.
Of course.
As someone who's going through this journey and fighting the good fight, what are you going to do for your own healing this week?
For my own healing?
Yeah. For your own self.
I do healing with reading and learning a new skill. And now I'm learning. So this week I'll continue improving my harp skills.
Harp? Like you're playing the harp?
Yeah, I have videos on my Instagram page where I played the different songs with the harp. It's actually a lyre, or what do you call it? A lyre, or like 8 strings, small harp. So yeah, I really find it healing. Radical Islam teaches you that music is forbidden. that music is wrong.
I
And
didn't
then,
know that.
yeah, of course. And then when you learn,
Haram, right? Is that how you say it, Loay? Is it haram?
it's haram. And then when you learn about the prophets, you would see that there was a school. It's called the School of the Prophets in the book of the a book of in the book of Kings, where Sam, not the book of Kings, I'm sorry, in Chronicles. I know in Arabic, so Akhbar al-Ayyam, yeah, Chronicles, that Samuel made this school to teach even the Israelites how to play on musical instruments, and David had his own harp.
Mhm.
So you see the beauty that we were deprived of in the name of God.
Wow.
Crazy madness. So yes, I'll spend this weekend improving my harp skills. I know how to play, but I just need to improve how to play with both hands. I just know how to play with one hand. It's very easy. It's easy, but you know, playing with both hands, it's a bit challenging. So yeah, that's my healing.
I love that. I will be going to your Instagram after this. Um, so the final question is, what was it like to tell your story today?
I feel like I want to tell people that I'm having a website very soon where I have all my bio and everything, and I just want to refer to people to that story because I've been repeating it um, over and over. It's a very inspiring story to so many, I agree, but I do believe that my focus now should be on fighting the misinformation on social media, rehabilitating Muslim-Jewish relations, reconciling Arab-Israeli relations, showing proofs that Arabs and Israelis are not enemies, Muslims and Jews are not enemies, radical ideologies or radical ideology is our enemy, how we can build the Middle East together despite our differences, especially that we have amazing common grounds that we can build on top of. My story is very provocative to the radicals, to the Islamists, to the fanatics, and I enjoy provoking them because I know they cannot really defeat a person who overcome their ideology, and it's so powerful. I went to so many schools and universities and sessions. They insist that they have to tell my story. I told it 100 times. No, it's very inspiring. I know. Thank you so much. It's very inspiring, but we have to focus on moving forward and helping the rest of the people in the Middle East to become better versions of themselves. I always say this, Susie. I swear to God, defending peace with Israel brought lots of blessings to my life. Indeed, I lost friends, I gained many more friends. I lost opportunities, I gained many more opportunities. Zero regret. It is a blessing. And I became a better person. I don't hate others, I don't judge others. But that was, I mean, like 15 years ago when I reconciled with my when I got the better self, the better version of myself.
Mhm.
So you become a loving person to all people from different faiths, even those who don't really believe in God or don't worship God or don't have a faith at all. Just deal with them as human beings. There is a very nice verse in the Torah that says when God instructed the Israelites to deal with the Egyptians, and you might see, oh my God, the animosity or the enmity between the Egyptians and the Jews, you should how God was so harsh on so many verses, in so many verses about the Egyptians. But then you see the commandment, "Lo تتعب مصري كي غير هيدا بأرضه." You should never abhor an Egyptian because you were foreigners in the land. So teaching you how to be grateful even to those who you once lived with, and how to not to take enmity to the next level. Enmity between people can happen, but it's not eternal. Radical Muslims believe that enmity between a Muslim and a Jew and a Christian is eternal. And I'm telling you, they don't say it out loud in the West because they don't want to have their visas revoked. But this is the truth. And as long as they are not sincere with you, you have to listen to those who defeated their ideology. Because if they would be sincere, they would tell the truth. But of course, they don't want to lose the benefits.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
That was a
I
double wow at the same time.
At the
Wow.
same time, we both usually are not speechless. Yeah, I appreciate your heartbeat. I appreciate your truth. I appreciate your bravery. I mean, incredibly brave, and with so many bold facts.
Mhm.
And, you know, coming out of a quote unquote cult is not an easy thing. So I'm so grateful for your allyship beyond.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Miri. And we are on this thing together until the end of times, and until we see it a reality, or else it is worth die trying, inshallah.
Mm.
Loay, Ramadan Kareem, and thank you for being one of the three.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Miri. Thank you so much, Susie. And I really enjoyed the podcast.
We're excited to see you in person sometime soon.
I'm coming to the area soon, inshallah.
Oh, one at a time. So let's get you, Arno, Mubin, and Yasmin, and maybe,
You're based where? In San Francisco, right?
She's in Boston. I'm in LA.
but we're everywhere. So
We're
Arno,
everywhere.
Lucky, and Mubin is in Canada, but so Parents for Peace will bring everybody together. That's
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
I'm coming to Canada from April 1st to April 4th, and then I'm invited by a Chabad in Wyoming.
Whoa.
get together with Arno. So Mubin is in Canada. How about that? I'll do a group chat for you, Mubin and Arno, because Mubin Sheikh is in Canada. Arno is in
Okay, but no promises this time. I'll be very honest. I'll tell you why, because it's a very tight schedule and we have 2 events and it's like crazy, but I will try. I promise.
okay. If you have time, that's great. If not, that's fine. But if not, we should get everybody together.
Yes, LA. Or San Fran.
I was going to say I would come to LA all the way for In-N-Out, but I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona, where there's In-N-Out, so
Ah!
that's coming. So
I hope you get animal style.
Animal Style and Double Double, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you need to. I heard you like Bamba, so Susan,
Oh,
you need to get
yes.
Bamba.
Well, now I'm addicted to Bamba since Sienna said you have to get him like 10 packs of like Bambas.
You know the trick of the Bamba, right? If it's nougat, if it's chocolate, you have to freeze it. If it's not, if it's the regular one, you have to open it for 2 days until the texture changes and it's more delicious.
I did not know this.
I'm giving you tips.
All right, I'm all in. I'm going to try.
Okay, thank you so much, Miri.
All right, talk to
It
you
was a real
soon.
pleasure. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, let me stop the recording.